Chapter 2071. Surmounting All Difficulties 5. Su Luo scornfully looked at Ouyang Morong, who got beaten up by Big Sister Wei. She coldly sneered, "Open it." After that, surmounting all difficulties, he walked slowly towards it. Ouyang Morong witnessed Su Luo's silhouette with eyes full of terror that wouldn't dissipate. How could it be like this? How could there be someone so powerful, defying the laws of nature? How did he not know? From the beginning of the fight to the end, it had only lasted as much as the time it took to finish a cup of tea. No, it couldn't be called a battle. From the beginning to the end, this mad woman attacked people, swinging her halberd ferociously and fatally. The strange-looking girl never appeared to be moving ever so slightly. That girl was the leader of a small hunting gang. How could the members be so committed, voluntarily bodyguarding and fighting the strange little girl? What kind of background did this lady have? Ouyang Morong pondered but could not find an answer. Besides his current frustration, he worried that with these two members already participating, could they possibly still be in the top 3? The 6th floor. Su Luo approached the 6th floor. Her back was forced to bend. A mental pressure as strong as the Taishan mountain flooded into the place. Very good. Su Luo curved the corner of her lips, lifting it into a smile. With such surrounding pressure, she finally felt some of it seep into her body. Su Luo straightened her waist, breathed in deeply, feeling pressured as she was near it, but not enough to stop her journey, so without turning her head around, she decided not to leave. But there was someone that had stopped the ladies. "How did you guys come up? Are all the people under Ouyang Morong dead?" An unruly voice resounded into Su Luo's ears. Su Luo tilted her head to look back. A handsome, strong-looking man, of around 30 years old with an extremely malicious expression, coldly stared at Su Luo. Behind him were two people. "Are you talking about Ouyang Morong?" Su Luo, genuinely but coldly, gazed at him. Suddenly, the handsome man had an uneasy feeling. "Are you the leader?" Su Luo slowly spoke up. "You. What did you do to him?" Only then did the handsome man realize that when this beautiful girl entered the 6th floor, she was not even out of breath, which really surprised him. "Don't worry, you can't die from this." Su Luo smiled faintly. "If you don't want to follow in his footsteps, just let it go." "Let it go? In your dreams?" Boss Morong laughed coldly. At the same time he greeted the boss of the Yulin sect. "Hey you, this lady would like to cross. May she have your permission?" Boss Yulin sneered and walked over. "There are only 3 spots. What do you say?" The two smiled at each other tacitly. So Luo had originally intended to let them fight each other, and then reap the benefits. However, now, it seemed that although their two groups were fighting, they had a tacit understanding of each other, and were not easily deceived. Regardless, their strength was well respected. In the face of great power, all conspiracies and tricks were all paper tigers. Su Luo had always believed in this sentence. Because of this, Su Luo scornfully curled the end of her lips. "You don't want to let us go? Then let's fight." Before he could say anything, she and Big Sister Wei attacked both sides, left to right. Su Luo chose Boss Morong, while Big Sister Wei chased after Boss Yulin. The strength of Boss Morong was the same as Big Sister Wei's when she first met Su Luo. Chapter 2072. Surmounting All Difficulties 6. After almost 3 rounds. This is not possible. Boss Morong couldn't believe what he was seeing. Opening his eyes as wide as he could, he intensely stared at Su Luo. Since when did a genius like this exist in Distal End Mountain? How did he not know about this? That little girl looked like she was a 6-star commander level, but her close combat skills kept pushing him backwards. "Who are you? Honestly, who are you?" Boss Morong was screaming through his exhausted rusty voice. "Su Luo, new candidate. I joined less than a month ago," Su Luo said. "New candidate? How is this possible?" Boss Morong was so shocked. How was a new candidate even better than him, Boss Morong, the boss of this whole area? Who would tolerate this upstart? At the same time, Boss Morong was exchanging glances with Boss Yulin. From Boss Yulin's glance, all he could sense was fear. Compared with him, Boss Yulin was really pathetic. He got beaten so hard by the other madwoman that he couldn't even defend himself. Not only was he always on the back foot, He was so pathetic that he was running away. That madwoman brought such a heavy halberd. Yet she was comfortable following him like she was taking a walk. Stop, stop. I surrender. Boss Yulin put both of his hands up in the air. But the silly big sister Wei didn't even care if he surrendered or not. She was chasing after him as if she was chasing after ducks, pushing him down to the 6th level. Poor Boss Yulin. Ran like that till he was on the 5th floor. How humiliating. Are you surprised? Su Luo giggled when she looked at Boss Morong. Boss Morong's jaw was dropped to the floor, completely speechless. These two women were so powerful. How could anyone else swallow with this? Boss Morong turned on his nice tone, started to negotiate. Miss, since there are 3 slots for the entrance to Downstream Mountain, the 2 of you can have the first 2, the next one can be mine. Do me a favor. How does that sound? Su Luo raised the corner of her mouth into a faint smile while looking at Boss Morong. Why do I have to do you a favor? If you let me go today, you will earn good karma. You don't want to be cruel, don't you? If you actually do me a favor, the entire Hongxing gang will help you in the future. Unexpectedly, Boss Morong didn't even get to finish his words. Su Luo already waved her hand to interrupt him. Do you think that I will stay at this disgusting distal end mountain after I finish this assessment? Are you cursing me? Su Luo coldly said. Boss Morong's temples were shaking. At this distal end mountain, there were so many people that begged for the opportunity to do a favor for Ouyang Morong, but couldn't. Such a little brat. Even though he was furious inside, he was very conscious of what could happen if he angered them. He tried to continue to sweet talk with a smiling expression. If so, then what would you want in exchange? Su Luo thought for a moment, then said, the communication amulet? After hearing this, Boss Morong's heart sank. The communication amulet couldn't be traded with experience points. Furthermore, you couldn't rob someone of it. Because once it was bound, there was no other way to use it but to destroy it. Soul essence? Su Luo slowly asked. Boss Morong felt like he was about to burst into tears. Soul essence could be exchanged with experience points, but his level wasn't high enough to afford this exchange. Not only that, wasn't it extremely expensive? If so, then there isn't any way for us to collaborate. Go away. Su Luo pointed at the pathway Big Sister Wei was guarding. The pathetic Boss Morong was looking at Su Luo. Su Luo impatiently gestured a signal. The strong-looking Big Sister Wei quickly rushed over, used one hand to pick up Boss Morong, and threw him to the lower level. Chapter 2073. Surmounting All Difficulties 7. Looking at the empty 6th floor, Su Luo laughed and said, it's no wonder that the 2 groups want to clear out this place. Sure enough, the feeling of having the whole place to ourselves is pretty nice. Su Luo, along with Big Sister Wei, walked quickly up to the 7th floor. This might be the emptiest the Tower of Trials had been since the beginning of its history. Surprisingly, the 6th floor only had 2 people. Stepping onto the 7th floor, Su Luo started slowing her pace. It was because she could feel a tremendous spirit suppression force attacking her from the front. That terrifying fluctuation swept out, seemingly wanting to disintegrate her body. Su Luo paled. Her soul was worn out. Yet the pressure was magnifying still. Su Luo covered her head, furrowing her eyebrows. Big Sister Wei, who was scared by Su Luo's reaction, asked hurriedly, what's the matter? Are you very unwell? She knew Su Luo was severely injured before this assessment. Su Luo waved her hands, signaling that she was fine. Go get the victory flag. Su Luo told Big Sister Wei. At this point, the spirit suppression force was immense. Just upon entering, Su Luo, for a moment, almost got knocked outside just from the high pressure. Luckily, she was able to pull together her spiritual power and keep her feet steadily in place like a boulder. This path seems a bit rough. Big Sister Wei walked with great difficulty toward the innermost area where the victory flag was. The victory flag had been placed in a mountain peak very high up. To take it away, one had to ascend one step at a time. Su Luo was in no rush to go up. She stood in place, letting the pressure cover her whole body. After a moment, she slowly opened her bright eyes and moved forward with the first step. The suppression force here was countless times stronger than that of the 6th floor, and it was extremely viscous. It felt like she was walking through a mass of honey, making it very difficult for her to continue onward. As for Big Sister Wei, the spirit suppression force here was also somewhat of a challenge for her. That was why she was walking very slowly, but very steadily. Not long after, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei walked shoulder to shoulder, both extremely slow but consistent. On the 5th floor, Boss Yulin and Boss Morong looked at each other. After that, both of them charged upwards with great tacit understanding. In any case, the two crazy women were going to take the top 2 spots. Didn't that mean there was still 1 spot left? With that, both people rushed ahead towards the 7th floor, like a gust of wind. But right as they entered, bang! An invisible wave of elastic force sent both people flying back out forcefully. They tumbled down the stairs and rolled to the floor unconscious. On the 5th floor, countless shocked people saw how the two leaders unconsciously laid on the floor. They could only look upwards to the 7th floor with respect. Those two women so powerful. The 7th level. Without a word and straight-faced, both of them continued forward. It was only a short 1,000 steps, yet it had taken both people half an hour. The sweat on Su Luo's forehead trickled down her face. Her lips were cracked with dry blood, and her back was slightly hunched over. Her soul was greatly injured. At this point, an unbearable pain caused her whole body to tremble. Su Luo's eyes were bloodshot, but her eyes still showed unshakable persistence. Drip drop. Each drop of blood, combined with sweat, rolled down to the ground. Upon landing on the hot damp ground, it instantly evaporated. The path that Su Luo had taken was mottled with traces of blood. It was shocking to look at. Big Sister Wei lowered her head, feeling awful as she looked at Su Luo. "I'll carry you." Being carried by Big Sister Wei, Su Luo felt much more relaxed. Chapter 2074. Surmounting All Difficulties 8. This was an examination. Even if she was severely injured, she wouldn't cheat to pass. She was about to collapse from the spirit suppression force, but it also cleansed her body. Ultimately, the most important part was to test her willpower. So she could only depend on herself in order to continue on this path. An extremely severe pain spread from her ribs to her skull. Her ears were ringing constantly, and her vision was also blurring. She was slowly approaching her limits. Boom! Su Luo could feel the thread inside her body snap. Afterwards, her body seemed to relax slightly. Su Luo raised the corners of her mouth into a smile. Sure enough, it was just like that. Previously, she was actually capable of entering the 7th star commander level when she was at the outer magical beast zone, having taken the advancing pill. However, she got interrupted by Qing Yi, so she remained at the peak of the 6th star. Unexpectedly, after experiencing the spirit suppression force's purification, the thread in her body was finally snapped. Furthermore, Su Luo entered 7th star commander level in one go. If anyone wanted to discuss the speed and advancing levels, there was absolutely no one that could compare with Su Luo. Su Luo moved her innate spiritual power around, slowly straightening her body. Her strained face was also loosening, bit by bit. Since she advanced to the 7th star commander level, she would be slightly more prepared for participating in Downstream Mountain's Tower of Trials. Keeping her happiness inside, Su Luo put on a serious expression and focused on finding solutions for the situation ahead. At this moment, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei had arrived just below the victory flag and turned their heads up to look at it. The victory flag was located on the top of a decorative hill that was as tall as 2 people. It didn't seem easy to take down. The decorative hill wasn't that tall. If it was under normal circumstances, a casual jump would be sufficient to reach it. However, this was the 7th level. The closer it was to the center of this floor, the stronger the repelling force was. If they weren't paying attention for just a moment, they would have been directly knocked out. How could they reach the flag? Surely, just jumping wouldn't do the trick. As Su Luo was hesitating, Big Sister Wei squatted down and patted Su Luo's lower thighs. "Stand on top of me." Big Sister Wei seemed slow-witted in daily life, but in crucial moments, she wasn't slow-witted at all. Her idea was so simple yet so effective. Su Luo thought for a moment, and eventually gave in to the idea. After Su Luo got onto Big Sister Wei's broad shoulders, Big Sister Wei stood up and lifted Su Luo's body up. However, Su Luo's face turned abnormally pale. No wonder the victory flag was located here. It turned out, the closer you were to the victory flag, the more terrifying the surrounding suppression force was. Su Luo felt like her body had been ruthlessly snapped at the waist, and every bone and joint on her body was making weird noises. Big Sister Wei was extremely worried about Su Luo, and wanted to put her down. However, Big Sister Wei was stopped by Su Luo's whisper. "Don't waste all of our work because of me." Su Luo was sure that her body would only allow her to approach the flag once because she wouldn't be able to endure it the next time. With her trembling hands, Su Luo struggled to reach for the victory flag. As soon as she landed her hand on the flag, a powerful beam of white light shot straight out. Extremely blinding. As a reflex, Su Luo used her hand to cover her eyes. If she was a fraction of a second slower, she would have been blinded. She then felt the environment buzzing, the world spinning, and her vision blackened. When she opened her eyes again, she realized her surroundings had changed. She wasn't in the 7th level anymore. She was in the square where Abbess Miju had tried to stop her. At this moment, there were so many people crowding the square, and they all seemed to be tired. As soon as Su Luo and Big Sister Wei appeared, they shot terrified looks at the two all at once. What was going on? Did she succeed or fail? Su Luo felt extremely confused. Chapter 2075. Surmounting All Difficulties 9. I won't die from this. Su Luo said as she weakly waved her hands. At this point, all the glances focused on their faces. Su Luo began to realize that her entire body almost had no energy left, lowering her voice as she asked Big Sister Wei, "What is going on? We'd been transported out? Did it mean that we completed the mission? Or did we fail?" She only remembered that her hand had just touched the victory flag, then she fainted away. Big Sister Wei shook her head. Since there wasn't anything to do, Big Sister Wei promptly brought out a big piece of meat from her inventory. Momentarily escaping into her own world, she ate happily and leisurely, focusing on nothing but the meat in front of her. Su Luo was stunned. She suddenly realized that she was very envious of Big Sister Wei. No matter when it was, her first expression was dull and confused. Then she would shake her head and then eat. If that didn't satisfy her, she would bring her halberd with her to go out and discipline a group of bandits. This was the sort of life everyone yearned to live. While Su Luo was sighing again and again, the people in the square were looking at her with gazes that were getting increasingly fervent. Everyone started gossiping in hushed tones. Just the two of them? They're the ones who kicked the Hongxing gang and Yulin sect to the lower level? Possibly. When did that Big Sister Wei become so powerful? To think that she's even stronger than Boss Morong and Boss Yulin? The one who is even more powerful is that pretty little girl. Rumor says that she is a new candidate who just entered not even a month ago. And yet she can beat the 7th level. Such an admirable person. Originally, the Hongxing gang and Yulin sect planned to determine themselves as the winners. However, everything is good now. The two leaders are even lying unconscious on the ground. I heard it was when they were sneaking up to the 7th level that they were kicked down by that young lady named Su Luo. Thanks to her extremely sensitive hearing, Su Luo heard everything very clearly, and could not help but wryly smile to herself. She had not actually kicked those two leaders, but it seemed like they were crediting her for it. When one was infested with too many lice, one would no longer feel the itch. When one had too much debt, one would no longer worry about it. As for Su Luo, she now had so many enemies that she neither felt itchy nor worried, and just acted like everything was fine. At this exact moment, an abnormal fluctuation swept through the air, and a silhouette suddenly appeared. Looking at the middle-aged woman, Abbess Miju's image appeared in Su Luo's mind. This woman's serious face was so similar to Abbess Miju. Seeing her triggered a headache in Su Luo. The manager of the Tower of Trials, why was she here? Furthermore, Abbess Miju, step by step, walked towards Su Luo's side of the square. What did she want to do? Su Luo's expression darkened, and she tugged at Big Sister Wei, who was intensely focused on eating her chicken drumstick. Abbess Miju quietly stood in front of Su Luo. her expression still as serious as before. She cleared her throat with a cough. Congratulations to you two on passing the Tower of Trials. Now you have the opportunity to enter the Downstream Mountains Tower of Trials. Abbess Miju's voice was as cold as before. However, Su Luo realized that there seemed to be less malice in Abbess Miju's gaze and words. Su Luo stared at her fixedly, curious of her true intentions. Abbess Miju felt awkward from being stared at. She then cleared her throat again and presented an object. This is your reward from this assessment. Take it. Reward from the assessment? Su Luo happily looked at the small embroidered box. It was the reward that convinced her to participate in the assessment despite her injured soul. With a great amount of luck, she finally got it. As soon as she got a chance, she would give this to Ziyan. Chapter 2076. Surmounting All Difficulties 10. What's going on? Su Luo's eyes were like the fresh frost from a cold wind. At that moment, her icy eyes were staring at the Abbess Miju. Abbess Miju's heart trembled. She subconsciously took a step back. It was a piercing stare, as if her dark pupils were drawing out the darkest hidden secret from the human heart. Abbess Miju could only feel the cold sweat on her forehead. Speak, Su Luo shouted angrily. Abbess Miju clenched her fists tightly, and with all her courage, spoke with a cold voice. This was given from above, how would I know? Who gave it to you? Su Luo stared at her coldly. Luo, young master Luo. Abbess Miju responded timidly. Luo-chen? How could it be him? A strange color flashed in Su Luo's eyes. Her eyes were still fixed on Abbess Miju without blinking. Then she telepathically contacted Luo-chen. Brother Luo, shouldn't the reward be the communication amulet? Su Luo remembered clearly that Luo-chen had passed this information to her personally. After a while Luo-chen's message came. You do need the soul essence. 7 words were not many, but they were cold like ice, without any sign of compassion. These 7 words were enough to tell Su Luo that Luo-chen had actually replaced the communication amulet. I really do need the communication amulet. Su Luo tightly grasped the green communication amulet, till her fingers turned as white as a sheet of paper. There is still another chance. He coldly responded. What chance? Su Luo replied in an unfriendly tone. Downstream Mountain. Remember what you said. Su Luo coldly stared at the communication amulet, as if it was Luo-chen himself. The more Su Luo was in contact with Luo-chen, the more she realized he was a mysterious person. His cultivation level was unfathomable, and his status was beyond all things. Each guess was no better than the other. Whatever. Wait till she entered the top 100 and the core of the genius training camp. Wouldn't she know everything then? Su Luo told herself. Abbess Miju looked at Su Luo and kindly reminded her. Miss Su, it is 1,000 miles down the mountain. Don't delay, or else you may miss the chance to enter the testing round. Su Luo frowned slightly. Abbess Miju had been brimming with ill intent towards her before, but now kindly reminded her. For what reason? Instinctively, Su Luo suddenly asked. Tell the person who is hiding at the top of the tower and shooting arrows at people. He'll be better off hiding forever. Otherwise, Abbess Miju's face went stiff and turned pale in a flash. Abbess Miju truly knew who that person was. Su Luo coldly sneered. She was testing the waters in order to make Abbess Miju spill. If you are fully prepared and strong enough, then he will be your strongest opponent in this test. Abbess Miju hesitated for a long time, and finally said some ambiguous words. This sentence not only pleased Su Luo, who was under the protection of Luo-chen, but also did not reveal too much information to offend him. Abbess Miju praised her own quick-wittedness. Enough to have a chance to be that person's opponent? Su Luo coldly sneered. Take these. Abbess Miju gave Su Luo 2 jade jewels. These were tokens for clearing the assessment. Only with this token could one participate and learn more in the assessment once one went to Downstream Mountain. Although there is a chance to participate in the assessment of Downstream Mountain, there are only 1 or 2 people who can go every year. Abbess Miju looked at Su Luo with a pessimistic glare. After taking the token given by Abbess Miju, Su Luo sneered and quickly led Big Sister Wei away. Was this person the strongest opponent in this test? Who knew? However, were her opponents not just the people from Downstream Mountain? Chapter 2077. Downstream Mountain 1. They traveled the length of the mountain, carrying along everyone's anger and hatred, as well as a great deal of anticipation. Su Luo and Big Sister Wei disembarked the small metal boat in front of the tower-like structure at the foot of the mountain. At this time, one full day had sailed past. As it was early morning, the public square in front of the tower was empty. Su Luo put away the small metal boat and proceeded to adjust her mood. Soul essence was truly a quality object. Despite being in possession of only one, her damaged soul had been repaired in just one day. Su Luo believed that given enough soul essence, her injuries will surely get better very quickly. Su Luo was holding the soul essence in her arms, and since she had trained in the small boat on the way there, half of the soul essence had already been used up. Su Luo had seen the optical tablet previously to check if she could purchase more soul essence, but the first condition to buy it wasn't something she could achieve at this point. Only the top 100 candidates from the Genius Training Camp were eligible to purchase goods, along with other privileges. There were narrow strips of gray exhibits that made Su Luo almost drool with desire. This time, she must be in the top 100. Su Luo tightened her fist. Apart from Su Luo herself, no one would have guessed that she wasn't just aiming for Downstream Mountain, but also Midstream and Upstream Mountains. Although Su Luo revealed her talents and shone on the Distal End Mountain, Distal End Mountain had always been a place which everyone looked down upon. Furthermore, they were outside of the top 300, so even though they were able to get first and second place on Distal End Mountain, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei would still be unable to make it onto the Roaming Dragon list. Because the Roaming Dragon list only included the first 300, after participating in the Tower of Trials of Downstream Mountain, and comparing with other participants, could the system give out the final rankings based on one's own strength and performance in the tower. As it was still early, none of the assessors had arrived yet. Su Luo sat on the ground, legs crossed, and soon entered into a calm state again. The people on Downstream Mountain were much stronger than those on Distal End Mountain, so this assessment would definitely not be as easy as the Tower of Trials of Distal End Mountain. Su Luo made sure she was mentally prepared. Little by little, time ticked by. The darkness of dawn passed, penetrated by the first rays of early light, piercing through the thin morning mist as a hazy orange hue washed over the earth, draping Su Luo in a golden coat of light. Su Luo's eyes were still tightly closed shut, still immersed in her own inner world, unaffected by any changes in the outside world. There was a thin veil of cold sweat on her forehead, and her once beautiful red lips were now pale as snow. Big Sister Wei brandished her halberd, circling Su Luo in strides, eyes gleaming, careful and vigilant. At any other time, Big Sister Wei would be silly and carefree, only caring to munch on chicken legs. However, when Su Luo was in training, the silly Big Sister was more serious than anyone else, eyes as sharp as an eagle's. So now, if anyone dared to show even the slightest hint of malice towards Su Luo, Big Sister Wei would not hesitate to smash their skulls in. Little by little, time continued to pass. The time for assessment drew ever closer. One by one, candidates began to trickle in. They witnessed Big Sister Wei standing in such a ridiculous pose. Stood erect as a statue with gigantic halberd in hand, shining eyes leering from side to side, as domineering as an empress patrolling her territory. Seeing such a silly sight, they undoubtedly decided to bully and attempted to strike fear into these candidates whom they deemed as weak and inferior. Chapter 2078. Downstream Mountain 2. Blanca 2107. And so, they subconsciously surrounded Su Luo. As the square was endlessly large, there were countless places one could sit. Settling down to their spots, these candidates wasted no time in being idle, and immediately began to meditate with their legs crossed and eyes closed. If Su Luo had seen this, she wouldn't have known whether to laugh, because these candidates were no different than those who, in her past life, frantically tried to recite their lessons at the very last minute before an exam. And so Su Luo's behavior wasn't at all strange. Instead, it was the silly Big Sister Wei who was the odd one out. With her majestic appearance and wild gestures, She left a big impression on many. As time passed, more and more candidates gathered, filling the air with noise and chatter. It was very difficult to continue meditating in such a noisy environment, and so many contestants opened their eyes. Right at that moment, a group of people flew in from midair, led by a white-haired old man. The man looked about 70 or 80 years old, his hair and beard silvery white, but his face was a lifeful flush. He seemed to be in very high spirits, something which wasn't at all indicative of his old age. Behind him followed 4 pupils, boys of no more than 11 or 12, all of whom looked handsome with their youthful faces and light gait. Seeing the old man, everyone, no matter what position they were in, stood straight up in salute at once. They then all bowed respectfully. The old man smiled, his face kind. The January assessment is about to begin now then. His eyes swept through each of the candidates' faces, until suddenly, his kind smile wavered and his brows furrowed slightly. All the candidates present focused their attention on the old man, who was fixedly staring at a certain spot on the ground with a frown, making everyone uncomfortable. With a rustle, they followed the old man's gaze. It was easy to see what he had been looking at, because there was but one girl who was still meditating on her own, with her elder sister standing firm beside. Who are those women? They seem new around here. Do you know them? I've never seen them before. Where did they come from? Aren't they from Distal End Mountain? Bah! What kind of candidate from Distal End Mountain has that kind of guts? Wasn't she at all fazed with fear when she saw us earlier? Now that the master is here, she even dares to sit and meditate with her eyes closed? Does she have a death wish? Let's see how the master will punish her. Not only does she not look at us, Downstream Mountain folks, in the eye, she even ignores the great master. Okay, suit herself. Even if the master can't discipline her, as soon as she enters the Tower of Trials, I will. At first, the gossip were mere whispers, but it soon grew into blatant, loud conversations. Despite all their words and threats, Su Luo sat still, steadfast as a rock, with eyes shut and 5 senses closed to the outside world, which she knew nothing about, much less reacted to. It was as if these people were throwing curses at a stone, but the stone did not move. It was rather annoying. The master's eyes flashed with disdain, but only for a brief moment. Soon he was back to being a kind old man again. Waiting for the crowd's scolding chatter towards Su Luo to die down, the old man coughed and waved his sleeves. I won't say much. Each month there will be an assessment. You all know the rules, so there isn't a need for words. The white-haired old man decidedly ignored Su Luo and Big Sister Wei, the 2 candidates who came from Distal End Mountain. He cleared his throat and spoke in a serious tone. Now line up for the ballot, all of you. Whichever group you draw, stay in it. Begin. Chapter 2079. Downstream Mountain 3. Each of the 4 young pupils carried an exquisite bag that contained a jade pendant. Those examinees were all familiar with it. One by one, they skillfully pulled open their bag and then dripped their blood into it. With her round eyes, Big Sister Wei glanced around at the lively group of candidates. She then turned her head to look at Su Luo, who was still immersed in cultivation and unaware of the current situation. In that moment, the expression in Big Sister Wei's eyes showed that she was lost and puzzled. She was in a state of confusion. People in Downstream Mountain knew this well, and understood why she was like this. However, none of them came forward to tell Big Sister Wei what to do. It was not only because these 2 ladies offended the guardian right at the beginning. Most importantly, it was because the people on Downstream Mountain had always looked down on the people from Distal End Mountain. There were assigned group numbers that were carved on the jade pendant, as well as the numbers that would be drawn by each person. Those candidates dropped their own blood on the jade pendant. It then allowed them to sense the existence of their group members. So naturally, all people that belonged to the same group would come together. There were 200 to 300 candidates from the roaming dragon list that were living on Downstream Mountain. In addition, there were also 3 other candidates from Distal End Mountain. Some of the candidates had already gone out to perform some tasks while others were at the critical points of their advancement level. Therefore, the Downstream Mountain only had 95 candidates. Including Su Luo and Big Sister Wei, the total count was 98 to be exact. There were 10 groups in this examination, and each group had 10 individuals. So the last group only had 8 individuals. After most of the candidates entered, Sister Wei still sat there with Su Luo as she showed no signs of awakening. At this time there were only 6 candidates left in the entire square, plus Su Luo and Big Sister Wei. Seeing that Big Sister Wei didn't plan to come up, one of the young pupils' eyes flashed a cold sneer. Then he put the bag away and prepared to leave. Right at this moment, a young man who was standing not far from Big Sister Wei said in a low upset voice, "Hurry up and get the registered jade pendant. Otherwise, there is no way you can take the exam if you're too late." The young man had never seen such a stupid person. She rushed to the square from thousands of miles away, but didn't even get the jade pendant. Instead, she just waited in a daze for someone to give it to her. The young man was not actually reminding her out of kindness. He just had the bad luck to be assigned to the last group, and this group had only 6 people so far. How could such a team beat others? Although he looked down on the people who came from Distal End Mountain, he thought it would still be good to use them as a shield. Therefore, he kindly opened his mouth to remind Big Sister Wei about it. Even though Big Sister Wei was not quick-witted, she was sometimes quick to respond. After listening to the reminder from the young man, she looked at Su Luo, and then thought about what Abbess Miju said before, yeah? Something about registering but not reporting. Therefore, she quickly dashed toward the young pupil. Just as the young pupil was about to put his bag away, he suddenly felt his hands were clamped by an iron grip. He grimaced in pain with his mouth open. By the time he recovered, the bag had already been snatched by Big Sister Wei. Big Sister Wei took out 2 jade pendants and threw the bag onto the young pupil's face. Then with another swish, she shot back over to Su Luo's side. This whole thing happened so unimaginably fast, as if it occurred during the snapping of one's fingers. The young pupil was stunned and grasped the bag down from his face. Only then did he realize that he should be angry, so he muttered bitterly, "This broken team can't win unless God opens his eyes." Bah! The guardian glanced at him, but she didn't stop him from cursing. Instead, she smiled lightly. Why bother lowering yourself to the same level as those uncouth people? Chapter 2080. Downstream Mountain 4. Following along with what the people in front of her are doing, Big Sister Wei smeared a drop of her blood onto the jade pendant. Although she only felt a flash in her mind, it seems like there were many new items appearing in her consciousness. After that, she continued according to the procedure. She took out a fine needle and extracted some blood from Su Luo's fingers. Even then, Su Luo didn't seem to be waking up. The teenage boy who reminded Big Sister Wei previously couldn't help but frown. If Su Luo's conditions are as bad as it is, what's the point of bringing her inside? Just leave her here. Let's go inside quickly. Right after saying that, he wanted to drag Big Sister Wei away with him. After listening to his intention of leaving Su Luo there, Big Sister Wei immediately got furious, and her pair of tiger eyes flashed with a cold light. She grabbed the teenage boy and yelled, "Say that one more time. Who do you want to leave right here?" Without finishing her sentence, Big Sister Wei had already smashed the skinny teenage boy into the air. His head hit the ground so hard that it created a big hole. What a strong woman! The other 5 people from the rest of the team all secretly thought that this Tower of Trials would no longer be an absolutely undefeatable one with this powerful Big Sister Wei around. They were so excited that they clasped their hands and looked at Big Sister Wei with eyes sparkling in happiness. The teenage boy stood back up gloomily. He was so angry, but he didn't dare to express it. All he could do was take a deep breath and return to his position in the team while furiously staring down at Big Sister Wei. After some thought, Big Sister Wei brought out a bundle of rope from her inventory and tightly secured Su Luo on her back. Seeing Big Sister Wei was intending to bring Su Luo inside with her, everyone began to dissuade her in succession. "Big Sister, why do you want to put yourself through this? This miss is in a meditative state right now. If you forcefully bring her inside, aren't you akin to killing her?" "Exactly. Big Sister, if you forcefully bring her inside, not only is there no benefit, there is so much harm for her. Furthermore, by bringing along such a burden, you won't be able to unleash your true power. Why don't we just put her outside for now? You can bring her back in after we win?" Big Sister Wei's eyebrows were pushed together so hard that it could crush an ant. Little Luo Luo must not be left here under any circumstances, Big Sister Wei said as she banged her halberd onto the ground heavily, which caused loud rumbles. She then announced in an imposing and majestic manner, "If little Luo Luo isn't going, then I am not going either." The 6 teammates were stunned. How could there be such a stupid woman in the world? In this cold-blooded and cruel world, how could such a thing like affection exist? Didn't she know that friends were made to be betrayed later on? All 6 of the teammates spent all their words to discourage Big Sister Wei. Yet Big Sister Wei felt that they were extremely annoying. She looked at them with freezing cold eyes. "All of you shut up. If you don't want to go with us, then leave." Leading the way, Big Sister Wei stepped forth with her firm big strides as if she wanted to fly into the Tower of Trials. Behind her, the teammates looked at each other in dismay. What do we do now? They were helpless. They could only accept the fact that they were bringing along a burden, Su Luo, with them. The Downstream Mountain's Tower of Trials was different from the last one. Instead of an individual assessment like last time, it was a team assessment this time. After participating as a group, the system would accurately calculate the rankings of each member based on an individual's contributions. Nobody had the courage to question the validity of the system. Like the last one, this Tower of Trials also had 7 floors. Furthermore, after entering the Tower of Trials, they would realize that the space inside was so wide as if there were no limits. Due to the space, they are likely exposed to different situations at any given point. Chapter 2081, Downstream Mountain 5. Lying on Big Sister Wei's back, both of Su Luo's eyes were still tightly shut as she was in a meditative state. Suddenly, there was a beam of light shining around her body. However, no one was able to detect it as it had only shone for a split second. On the first round, as soon as they entered, 20 octagonal horned buffaloes were running toward them in a rampage. The octangle-shaped horns over their head were sharp and glowing. If it was under normal circumstances, Big Sister Wei would have rushed over with her big wooden club. However, since the injured Su Luo was on her back, she preferred not to be in the fight, but watching her teammates. Each of the other 6 teammates seemed so cruel and savage as they furiously approached and killed the buffaloes. After a short while, the 20 buffaloes were all killed. After finishing the round, the 6 teammates squinted their eyes and looked at each other, mouthing 2 words toward Su Luo and Big Sister Wei. "Stupid wench." It was simple. The first few rounds were the easiest points for everyone to earn. Such as this round, there were a total of 20 foolish octagonal horned buffaloes. For every kill, the system would add some experience points. This was some extremely easy points to earn, but Big Sister Wei was so slow-witted that she was completely unaware of this situation. This was straight up some easy points. However, she didn't even bother to get some, just standing aside to watch. The 6 teammates were secretly exchanging glances, laughing at Big Sister Wei. They tacitly understood each other, and agreed to not tell Big Sister Wei about it. Furthermore, they also completely forgot about the unconscious Su Luo. A team of 8 is fine, at least there were less people to divide the points with. Who said we have 8? Clearly we only have 7. Someone pointed at Su Luo, who was still unconscious on Big Sister Wei's back. 7? We clearly only have 6 here. Big Sister Wei is just there watching. Dividing points for 10 people into 6 is definitely not bad. We should survive till the end. If not, we would still be in the bottom ranks. While everyone was discussing, they had already entered the second round. The monsters for the second round were still the foolish octagonal horned buffaloes. Even though their difficulty level was the same, the numbers dramatically increased. In this round, there were 40 of the octagonal horned buffaloes. Based on the calculation of the system, each person had 4. At the moment, Big Sister Wei was constantly watching Su Luo on her back, and didn't seem to have any intention of competing for points. Therefore, all 40 of the octagonal horned buffaloes belonged to these 6 people. For a short while, there were only battling sounds along with rising passions. Carrying Su Luo on her back, Big Sister Wei was sitting on the side. She was so bored that she was yawning, holding up her face with her hand. dozing off into her lap. She was even sleep-talking. In front of the Tower of Trials. Not sure since when there was a crowd of people. Among them was a guardian. Another among them was a man who was a little older than 30 with gloomy eyes and a cold, prideful look on his face. He was looking at the situation in the Tower of Trials with a smirk. There was another old man wearing loose-fitting angelic clothes who seemed healthy and kind. As the old man waved his hand, the wall outside of the Tower of Trials slowly revealed an enormous screen. The screen was divided into 10 different frames with each focusing on each team battling inside. On the right side of the screen was a ranking board. Every 3 seconds, the screen would refresh to reflect the current rankings. Chapter 2082, Downstream Mountain 6. The old man was clasping his hands behind his back, following the glances from the man, and he looked at the screen. When he saw Big Sister Wei was sleeping and snoring by the wall with the unconscious Su Luo, his temples twitched. Being this old, this was the first time he witnessed a candidate going into the Tower of Trials to sleep and another being unconscious. Such an eye-opening opportunity. What are the names of those two? The old man was curious. Look at it yourself, they are the last two. The man who was older than 30 years old said coldly. The last two? He looked at the rankings on the right side of the screen, directly staring at the bottom of it. On the screen, the rankings were from 201 to 300. On the bottom of it were 2 red names. Following the order, it was Big Sister Wei and Su Luo. Their names didn't have a ranking in front of them, because they were the last ones to enter. Furthermore, they didn't move at all even after entering the Tower of Trials. So the system judged that they didn't have any rankings. Interesting, how interesting. The old man stroked his beard, looking at the 2 people who were sleeping through the screen with deep interest. Old Ning, you are interested in those 2 people? In my opinion, they're stupid. The man smirked. Leng Xiao, are they your enemies? Why are you speaking so harshly? Old Ning glanced over at him slowly. Leng Xiao hummed, but he didn't answer. Were they enemies? Of course they were. If not, why would he be here watching over their actions? Originally seeing them being geniuses in the distal end mountain, he thought that they were good enough for him to not look down at them. Who knew that these 2 were just 2 stupid people, wasting all of his time? Leng Xiao decided, if they were still as stupid in level 3, he would just wave his sleeves and leave. The guardian smiled while looking at old Ning, whispering, I feel like Leng Xiao isn't being harsh, he is just speaking facts. Old Ning threw an angry look at the guardian. This man had always been selfish and narrow-minded. Did these 2 girls do anything to him? Old Ning smirked. If not, do you want to bet? I already felt that these girls will be in the top 3. Puff. Just as old Ning finished his words, the guardian and Leng Xiao were laughing their heads off. Leng Xiao was more extreme. He laughed so hard that he was leaning back and forth, with one hand stroking his belly and the other pointing at the screen. These 2 idiots, you said they would make it to the top 3? This line is the most horrifying thing in the world. Are you actually thinking that there is no one from Distal End Mountain who can be better than them? Do you actually mean these little girls will be in the top 3? The guardian thought this was funny, but he was angry and threw a malicious look at Old Ning at the same time. Old Ning felt it was so funny when he looked at the 2 men, he seriously knocked his head. I feel like these 2 girls are hiding themselves. So what now? Do you dare to bet with me? Bet. Why wouldn't I? Winning against the old Ning. It is such an honor. Leng Xiao continuously jested as he smirked. Old Ning looked over to the guardian who sullenly knocked his head saying, What does old Ning want to bet with? How about soul essence? Old Ning stared at the 2. If I lose, I will give you each a Grandmaster level pill. However, if you lose, each of you will give me a soul essence. Deal. Both the guardian and Leng Xiao agreed. Chapter 2083, Downstream Mountain 7. I bet those 2 idiots won't even make it past the 5th level. Leng Xiao said in a cold voice. The guardian remembered Big Sister Wei's speed, pondered for a bit, and said, Then, I will bet that they can't make it past the 6th level. Not knowing that there were people betting on their progress, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei were still sleeping like there was no tomorrow. On the battlefield, someone was watching from a corner. His eyes flared with hatred. This was not anyone else but the young man who got slapped by Big Sister Wei. In this moment, he glanced at Sister Wei with a vicious, calculating glare. He had been humiliated in front of the elder. This kind of shame had engraved in his heart, and he would never forget it. He could only think about revenge. He had seen Big Sister Wei's strength, so he would not be so stupid as to fight her alone. However, now looking at the foolish octagonal horned buffalo next to him, the young man sneered proudly. The young man didn't hold back and injured 4 foolish octagonal horned buffaloes in a row. Then he drove the 4 foolish octagonal horned buffaloes toward Big Sister Wei like a red cape. Right after he did so, the young man was charging towards Big Sister Wei at lightning speed. He even cut his thigh with the dagger hidden in his sleeve to squeeze out the blood. As soon as the foolish octagonal horned buffaloes saw blood, they would charge toward those 2 people in the corner like crazy. For them, there would be nothing but death. Outside of the tower, Lung Xiao sneered. As expected, it looks like I don't have to waste time witnessing those 2 fight to 5th level. They clearly won't be able to pass. Witnessing this, the guardian nodded in agreement. Would reality play out as they expected? The elder didn't believe it would, so he was now watching the situation intensely through a screen. Just when the young man was just 3 feet away from Big Sister Wei, Big Sister Wei sensed the incoming danger and suddenly woke up, opening her eyes wide. Big Sister Wei's eyes looked like shiny stars. Where did the sleepiness from her eyes go? Boom! Big Sister Wei subconsciously thrusted her big wooden club forward. When Big Sister Wei was in danger, how could she care about holding back her strength? Normally, if it hadn't been for Su Luo's reminder, she would have totally ignored it. The big wooden club lurched forward, hitting the young man in the stomach. Hey, Big Sister Wei said. Her legs sank downward as she mustered her innate spiritual strength and charged forward. The young man was pitiful, because after Big Sister Wei thrusted her wooden club into him, she smacked him into the ground. Arg! While he was in midair, the young man let out a tragic sound. All of his friends ran away, and all he could do was look at them. It was unsure if that was Big Sister Wei's intention or not, but the young man's body smashed heavily onto a foolish octagonal horned buffalo's head. Specifically, it was the head of one of the 4 foolish octagonal horned buffaloes charging towards them. Each one of the buffalo's heads crashed into the ground, so the body of the young man was pierced by one of their horns. The octagonal horned buffaloes were frightened by the sudden attack and immediately ran away. However, their horns were broken in half. How could they tolerate this humiliation? The octagonal horned buffaloes couldn't control themselves. So they gathered their spiritual strength, roared angrily, and charged like a ram to the right. The poor young man was immediately hit hard against the wall. Then he quickly fell to the ground. Due to losing too much blood and the additional fall, the young man was quite dizzy for a while. Then, everything went black before his eyes. His ears rang and he wasn't able to hear anything. Chapter 2084. Downstream Mountain, 8. The blood inflamed the bloodlust of the foolish octagonal horned buffaloes. 4 foolish octagonal horned buffaloes swarmed the young man. The strong horns, sharp teeth, powerful legs, enormous body. 4 foolish octagonal horned buffaloes attacked toward the poor, weak, young man. At this moment, the young man really wanted to cry in pain. Was this karma? Did he do this to himself? Arg! When the young man was about to be torn apart into small pieces, there was a voice at the back of his head. The system asked him coldly, "Do you want to continue the assessment?" If he continued, he would have died immediately. The young man continuously chose a single option. No. After he chose to stop, a beam of light flashed through. His body immediately disappeared. He was transported back to the square where everything started. The clothes on his body were torn, and his body was bloodied. He was on the edge of dying. Old Ning glanced at the young man. A trace of disappointment flashed at the edges of his eyes. The guardian and Lung Xiao stared at the teenage young man, secretly cursing him. The young man didn't know how he ended up on the stage with the 3 idols. He was so humiliated that he fainted on the spot. Afterward, the medics came to move him away. The system had a strict moral code. Because there was an assessment every month, it would be such a shame if a candidate died in the Tower of Trials. They couldn't take the loss, especially if it was a genius. Therefore, the rule was set at the highest level of the tower. When someone was about to die, they would have the chance to leave. Of course, if they want to leave, their experience points would automatically reset, and they would be returned to the bottom of the rankings. In the tower, the foolish octagonal horned buffaloes lost their targets. They were so furious. Therefore, they chose to attack the people closest to them and rushed over to Big Sister Wei. As Big Sister Wei saw these foolish octagonal horned buffaloes rushing over, she carefully untied Su Luo from her back, because she was scared that her movement might affect Su Luo's state. After arranging Su Luo, Big Sister Wei started stretching, cracking her joints. At that exact moment, the foolish octagonal horned buffaloes closed in. Roar! Big Sister Wei furiously roared. Her body jumped up quickly, and using the big wooden club in her hand, she smashed downward at the buffaloes. For a short while, smashing sounds reverberated throughout the air. After the smashing sounds ceased, the four poor foolish octagonal horned buffaloes were nowhere to be seen. There was only a big chunk of meat on the ground. The enormous and powerful foolish octagonal horned buffaloes all got smashed into a big chunk of meat. This move from Big Sister Wei completely horrified the rest of the 5 teammates. The meat was smooth and consistent like it was grinded in a machine. If Su Luo woke up right now, she would definitely force Big Sister Wei to prepare some fillings for the next time when they ate wontons. Not only the 5 teammates were horrified, the expressions of the 3 people outside of the tower changed. Old Ning was so proud. I told you so. If they were so talented in Distal End Mountain, how could they not perform well here? Look at that. Only a few moves and they sent that young man flying out. The Guardian and Leng Zhao's expressions were stiff and foul as the color black. Leng Zhao finally whispered a cold sentence. Don't act so proud yet. Wait till they enter level 5. Time was passing by tick by tick. In the tower, the foolish octagonal horned buffaloes on level 2 were wiped out. Chapter 2085. Downstream Mountain 9. Su Luo's name still didn't have a rank. After witnessing Big Sister Wei's formidable stabs in level 2, the other 5 teammates didn't dare to provoke her anymore. Even if they were cursing behind her back, they only whispered and were afraid to say it loudly. On level 3, Big Sister Wei still didn't want to move, and Su Luo was still unconscious. Seeing everyone engaged in battle, Big Sister Wei put Su Luo in a corner. Then she rubbed her own fists and palms, eager for some action. Level 3 difficulty level was doubled compared to the level 2. Even though it was still octagonal horned buffaloes, there were 80 of them this time. If it was the other teams, each person would take 8 octagonal horned buffaloes, and it would be just barely manageable for them. However, for Su Luo's team, there were only 5 people fighting considering both Su Luo and Big Sister Wei weren't participating in the battle. Furthermore, these 5 were rumored to be the weakest people in Distal End Mountain. If not, they wouldn't be assigned to the last team. How could 5 people defeat 80 octagonal horned buffaloes? Before long, these 5 people were all surrounded by the broad and powerful octagonal horned buffaloes. Their screams were endless, and blood started to gush out like a hurricane. At this time, they finally thought of Big Sister Wei. Hence, the whole group screamed with all their might at the top of their lungs for Big Sister Wei. Seeing as Su Luo's brows knit together tightly with more and more cold sweat appearing on her forehead, Big Sister Wei knew that the background noises were interrupting Su Luo. So, she then covered Su Luo's ears, turned around and screamed, "Shut up!" After Big Sister Wei screamed, the entire place was quiet. The octagonal horned buffalo's eardrums shook so hard to the extent of causing a lot of pain. Soon after, they came to the realization that they were bellowed at by a human. To them, this was extremely shameful and humiliating. Therefore, they all turned around and charged toward Big Sister Wei. How convenient. Big Sister Wei was scared that if she left, the octagonal horned buffaloes might eat Su Luo, so she didn't dare to move even a single step away from Su Luo. However, now that these foolish octagonal horned buffaloes were running toward her out of their own volition, now all she had to do was guard this corner. Hence, the octagonal horned buffaloes attacked her continuously while Big Sister Wei knocked them out with her big wooden club. Outside of the tower, Leng Zhao raised his lips into a cold smirk. A fully grown body with a simple mind. So stupid. The guardian smiled with unclear intentions. Expressing that he agreed with Leng Zhao's perspective, the guardian nodded slightly. There will always be limits to a person's physical strength and spiritual power. This woman is too stupid. Before long, she'll probably become exhausted and die. Old Ning coldly smirked. The people who are truly stupid are you too. In my opinion, 80 octagonal horn buffaloes aren't enough for her to play around with. Another 800 is more like it. Haha. The guardian and Leng Zhao continued to laugh coldly. Inside the tower, Big Sister Wei was swinging her wooden club fiercely. She wasn't thrusting one by one, she was directly swinging it around in a circle. For each of her swings, she took out at least 2 to 3 octagonal horned buffaloes, flipping them into the air. Upon falling onto the ground, the buffaloes screamed relentlessly before slowly dissipating into the air right where they were. Hence, numbers flickered endlessly in Big Sister Wei's head. +2 +3 +3 for there were so many numbers popping out nonstop, that her head became dazed and dizzy. Afterward, outside on the screen, Big Sister Wei's rank suddenly rose up with a tututu sound. It seemed that one could rise to a new rank without the screen refreshing. 296,294,290. 280,276,273. Soon after, the entire area outside of the tower was so quiet that even the sound of the wind blowing against the falling leaves could be heard. The audience outside of the tower, except for those 3 outsiders, there were many people such as the injured ones who got swept out continuously, the medics, the guards. Chapter 2086, Downstream Mountain 10 inside the tower. Big Sister Wei got so annoyed by the appearance of the numbers at the back of her head. What were the numbers increasing for? Increased my ass. Big Sister Wei swung her arm up, as if she wanted to clear away the numbers, but the numbers were still there. Am I about to die? Big Sister Wei smacked the back of her head, quietly turned around and asked Su Luo. But Su Luo's eyes were still tightly shut, immensely healing her own soul as before, so she didn't have the time to reply. You. What should I do now? Am I really going to die? Big Sister Wei regretted as the more she thought about it, the more she got scared. She has a whole bag of chicken drumstick. How could she just die? All of you did this, damn. Big Sister Wei pointed at the octagonal horned buffaloes with her big wooden club. She remembered it vividly. After these ugly buffaloes came, the numbers started to appear at the back of her head. I will kill you all. All of you. Big Sister Wei was furious. The wooden club in her hand was increasingly getting more powerful. Afterward, the numbers at the back of her head were changing even faster. +5 +6 +5. Hence, Big Sister Wei ground her teeth while the numbers were jumping nonstop. Eventually, she killed all of the 80 foolish octagonal horned buffaloes. The 5 teammates were stunned, slightly opening their mouths, and casted an admiring glance towards Big Sister Wei. They knew that she was strong, but having this phenomenal strength really made others feel despair. Outside of the tower, everyone was surprised while looking at the screen. Everyone was so focused that they didn't dare to breathe until Big Sister Wei's last swing. Immediately, the last 8 octagonal horned buffaloes fell onto the ground and died. What? What the heck? Leng Zhao couldn't even curse anymore. Was this mad woman even human? Could humans even be this strong? Old Ning stroked his goatee and laughed. Didn't I tell you so? They were hiding their own strength. Look, aren't they powerful? It's too late for you to regret it. Regret? Is Old Ning joking? Leng Zhao coldly smirked. Old Ning's words are correct, but not fully. Oh, Old Ning put on an expression as if he was trying to listen. That girl is undeniably really strong. But she is stupid. So what if she is stronger? Furthermore, she has a detrimental weakness now. She can't leave the young girl behind her. Leng Zhao smiled faintly. So I still stand by my opinion. They won't be able to survive any further than level 5. Ambition never dies until there is no way out. If so, then I'll wait tirelessly for it. Old Ning chuckled looking at the unconscious Su Luo. Comparing the two, he was more interested in seeing Su Luo go berserk. However, It was such a shame that everyone was seeing her as a burden right now. This was a perfect example of when a diamond wasn't discovered, and he hoped she could soon shine brightly. At the moment, Big Sister Wei's rank was at 260. Her rankings were even higher than the rankings of the 5 teammates. Since she killed 80 foolish octagonal horn buffaloes single-handedly, all the experience points were hers. Until now, Su Luo's ranking still remained at the bottom, all alone. It left everyone pointing at her and pitying her. When a person was still immensely healing their soul, it was hard to tell when they would wake up. Would she be able to wake up before the assessment ends? Chapter 2087. Unparalleled Elegance 1. Because of Big Sister Wei's presence, she carried everyone through the 4th level before anyone realized. Standing on the 5th level of the competition space, the 5 teammates were looking at each other in shock. Fast, it was too fast, faster than they could even react. Now Big Sister Wei's strength was recognized by her teammates. Although no one said it explicitly, everyone had just assumed Big Sister Wei as the leader of this little group. However, Big Sister Wei had yet to realize this. Although the team accepted Big Sister Wei, it didn't mean they feel the same way for Su Luo. As Big Sister Wei carried Su Luo walking in the front, the 5 slowed down a bit and began to whisper among each other. Big Sister Wei's strength is great. We can play weak and get carried by her in the competition. Of course. But dang, I never knew Distal End Mountain was hiding such a powerful person. If she is this good, why is she taking on this competition now? They want to be low-key maybe? But anyway, Big Sister Wei has gotten our trust, but the girl that she is carrying on her back is a big dead weight, if we don't have her around. Without her, Big Sister Wei can focus on carrying us to the top. After the last sentence was spoken, everyone came to an agreement and gave each other a look of understanding. If one person wasn't selfish, the world and universe could be destroyed. In order to get to the top ranks, we would risk everything. Because the higher rank you were, the higher score and better rewards you would get. Everyone had gone crazy for this competition. A student who didn't want a good score wasn't a good student. 5th level. Because of every competition, the testing material was different. So even these downstream mountain people didn't know what they should expect in these 7 levels. All they knew was that after the 5th level, every single party room would be combined. Meaning, everyone in the competition would be in the same space, not separated unlike before. At the same time, outside the tower, 10 divided screens that were displaying before had joined into one big screen. On the 5th level, everyone slowly came to a halt. There were a lot of people around and scattered around the corners. However, now it suddenly got super quiet. There were a lot of people here, but it was so quiet as if no living being was present, which gave a weird feeling. The 5 teammates looked at each other. They were feeling nothing but chills down their spine and stiffened up their bodies. The unknown brought true fear as it brought out unlimited imagination and countless possibilities that could happen. Compared to their whimpering state, Big Sister Wei was acting like she was on a vacation. She scouted a spot that was quiet and set Su Luo down in a corner. As she was watching Su Luo closely, she finally relaxed after seeing that Su Luo's face became calm and had regained blood flow. Then she sat next to Su Luo, with her legs crossed and brought out a big pouch. Was that bag full of weapons? The 5 teammates stared at Big Sister Wei with glittering eyes. With Big Sister Wei's bag full of weapons, they thought they would be much safer. Instinctively, they dashed towards Big Sister Wei hoping to get a weapon. Big sis, we will protect you. Someone was flattering Big Sister Wei, but soon his smile disappeared. Because he saw with his own eyes, Big Sister Wei pulled out a chicken drumstick. A chicken drumstick? Chapter 2088. Unparalleled Elegance 2. At this time, Big Sister Wei was oblivious to any external sounds. She went head first, chomping down on the chicken leg, every bite turning her face into a ferocious sight. Right at that moment, a white light flashed by. Ah, ghost. One person screamed out. After that, 2 groups of ghost flames flew by, closely followed by another 4 ghost flames. At this time, there were at least 50 people present. 1 ghost flame became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8. After that, they multiplied endlessly, exponentially. There were a lot of ghost flames. And on top of that, these flames weren't normal fires. They carried a destructive, dark aura within them, illuminating everyone's pale faces. The ghost flames attacked each and every one. Kill. Quick kill. These will make points. The higher the points, the higher the rank, the greater the reward. What are you waiting for? Someone yelled out. Immediately, the eyes of the hesitant contestants flashed with light like glistening crystals as they hurriedly took out their weapons and entered the fray, battling against the ghost flames. The 5th level was in a very wide space. It was so big that one could not see the boundary. Even with 50 people distributed within, it still seemed empty and vast. Thus, for a short moment, no one noticed silly Big Sister Wei and Su Luo in the corner. It was at this time that on Su Luo's team, the 5 teammates also ran out to kill the ghost flames. Because they represented points and ranking, whoever didn't kill them could only be an idiot. Moreover, with all the commotion, it was easy to sneak around taking advantage of the situation. It was a very chaotic scene. It was an absolute mess. Ice, being that water and fire were similar elements, was used for destroying the ghost flames. Besides that one, there was one other element, and that was the element of fire. Only a fire element type of higher rank than the ghost flames could suppress them. Was there anything that ranked higher than the ghost flames? Yes, there was Fallen Red Lotus, but Su Luo was unconscious. There was no one else that could use Fallen Red Lotus. Gradually, contestants started to lose momentum. Upon the field, contestants were being burned by the ghost flames left and right. The ghost flame carried a poisonous element. Entering the body would cause agonizing pain. So there were always people covered in flames holding their head while howling. Seeing that their lives were in peril, one after another, the candidates decided to give up their rankings. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As each streak of white light flashed past, many candidates also transformed into white lights, appearing above the wide field. At this time, only 20 people remained. The ghost flames kept endlessly growing in numbers. Fire blazed in all directions. Right at that moment, a veil of darkness suddenly descended. No one could even see the fingers on their hands. What happened? What is this? Where are the ghost flames? Did they seem to have vanished? When the darkness dispersed, many people were bewildered. Before there were countless, endless amounts of ghost flames, but now none could be seen. The enemy had retreated, which made them ecstatic with happiness, and left them confused and uneasy. It was because they did not know when the remaining ghost flames would jump out. It was just as everyone was frustrated and uneasy with the situation that someone discovered Big Sister Wei gnawing on the chicken leg, and Su Luo, who had her eyes closed and was still cultivating. What's up with you two? How could she possibly be in the mood to eat the chicken leg here? Is she an idiot? You couldn't be more correct. From the beginning of this battle, this idiot has been eating the chicken leg. We are tired to death battling the ghost flames. Some people from different teams had to give up because they were seriously injured. While these women here are rolling around eating on chicken legs, what the heck are they up to? Hanging around for points, duh. Don't you know? For every level passed, there is a reward. These women were waiting for us to pass the previous test, and continue on with us to the 6th floor. Chapter 2089, Unparalleled Elegance 3, Big Sister Wei was dumbfounded. What was wrong with gnawing on chicken legs? Was she not even allowed to eat her drumsticks? Unable to understand it, Big Sister Wei simply continued chewing on her chicken legs as they continued chattering. Bah! Is this woman deaf, or is the skin on her face thicker than the city wall? Does she have no shame? No, we can't let them tag along just for the points. I have no close relations to them, so why should anyone take care of them? That's right, if they want to follow us to the upper 6th floor, they have to put all their efforts into it. Otherwise, we'll have them thrown out, back to the wide field outside. How do we even throw them out? There aren't any doors or windows. Are you stupid? If we attack them until they're near death, the doors will open up. Have you all forgotten this? These people have never seen Big Sister Wei in action. who could take on 80 octagonal horned buffaloes alone. So they had no idea of her prowess. As the saying goes, in any difficult situation one had to pull their own weight. As they believed that these two women hadn't been doing anything while they worked tirelessly, the candidates felt a great sense of injustice. Hearing this, Big Sister Wei's few companions widened their eyes in horror and tried to explain. "You've misunderstood. Our captain is actually extremely powerful, she just hasn't shown it." What they said was true, but no one believed it. Hasn't shown it? Ha 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 ha, what a joke. If she hasn't shown off at this point, then is she waiting until she's thrown out to make a move? I don't think she's hesitating to act. Does she even have the guts to do so? I say this to your captain. Does she even have any virtue? There's only 7 of you left, but one is stupid and another silly. Brothers, we can't tolerate this. We can't let these women loaf off of our points. Brothers, let us unite and throw them out together. Throw them out. Throw them out. Throw them out. At this time, the anger was ragingly spread. The 5 companions who surrounded Big Sister Wei looked at each other. Then, they hesitantly, nervously, and slowly stepped aside, and quickly slipped into the crowd and disappeared without a trace. Big Sister Wei, still holding a half-eaten chicken leg, gazed at the silly group of contestants with a blank expression. It seemed that a fight was about to start. Suddenly, a loud noise erupted, shaking the ground beneath them. Earthquake? Everyone turned to where the sound came from. All of a sudden, 2 people loudly whistled. Then a white light engulfed both of them, and disappeared without a single trace as they feared that it would be too late to escape. Witnessing this, a petrifying horror washed over the contestants. Goodness gracious! What in the world was that? There was a gigantic fireball, slowly rolling forward. The fireball picked up its speed, getting faster and faster, destroying everything in its path, and was heading straight for the crowd. How big was this thing? If Su Luo could see, it would probably be as high as a 3-story building. Retreat. Quickly run away. The terrifying screams did not stop. At this point, they finally understood that the ghost flames they had encountered before didn't actually disappear, but had merged together. From a ghost flame, there was now an entire group of them, getting stronger as their numbers grew. The fireball was now rolling at an incredible speed, and the candidates were scattered like a flock of birds. The fireball didn't slow down at all and kept charging forward. Right in its path was Su Luo and Big Sister Wei. Chapter 2090, Unparalleled Elegance 4. The candidates kept praying in their hearts. However, when the fireball was just 10 feet away from Su Luo, it suddenly came to a forceful stop. It seemed to stretch out its flames and shivered, until it shrank and changed its rolling direction. What in the world was happening? Could it be that it had seen a ghost? It clearly had a target, so why didn't it continue to attack? Many of the people had questions they wanted to ask and huge question marks floating above their heads. This was a situation in which they could not understand even if they pondered about it in 101 ways. In fact, even Big Sister Wei was at a loss. She was just preparing to bring Su Luo to a safe place. She was even searching all over for some place where she could hide Su Luo with. But who would have expected the giant fireball to turn tail? Seeing no danger to herself, Big Sister Wei went right back to eating her chicken leg, watching the show. The fireball had turned to go to the opposite direction, but had now flared up with a sinister and raging blaze. Then the entire thing flew upwards. The speed in which the fireball flew was terrifying. It wasn't rolling anymore. Now it was spinning non-stop, going in all directions. Because of its massive size, there were inevitably candidates who could not dodge in time and got hit. As a result, the shrill screams kept on going. Those who heard them felt their hair stand on end. If a candidate got hit, they were sure to be crushed. Their body would be set aflame like a human torch. At the end, the burning people turned into flashes of white light before disappearing altogether. Outside in the square, the blackened burnt bodies suddenly appeared one by one and fell towards the ground, each one landing onto the next, stacking like a human pyramid, their chilling screams unceasing. At this time, Old Ning's brows raised in interest. Just now the fireball abruptly changed its direction right in front of Su Luo. How was this possible? Old Ning couldn't figure it out. The more he thought about it, the greater his curiosity towards Su Luo became. It seems this assessment is stricter than all of the ones before, eh? Old Ning glanced at the Guardian with a smirk. The degree of difficulty for the Downstream mountain was personally decided by the Guardian. After all, there were 3 levels: difficult, elite, and hell. Obviously, the master chose the difficult level for the first few, but then chose hell from the 5th level onwards. The Guardian saw the twinkle in Old Ning's eyes and nodded nonchalantly. Last month's assessment was too easy on them. It's time to push them further, so it is only right that I'm setting it more strictly. Old Ning glanced at the Guardian with a complacent smirk in his eyes. As he casually stroked his goatee, a careless smile flashed across Old Ning's eyes. The 2 men seemed to understand each other so well. Who would believe that they weren't in cahoots? At this time, the entire tower was in extreme panic. There had been more than 20 candidates, but now only a dozen or so were left. The 5 companions in Su Luo's group had also been cut down to 2, with the rest having been crushed. As absolutely unrestrained as before, the fireball kept on shooting indiscriminately. At this moment, someone suddenly screamed at the sky. If we are all killed in this assessment, the Tower of Trials will be closed for the next 3 years, and no one can be evaluated. This is the punishment for all of us dying here. We can't admit defeat. We can't be overwhelmed. We must unite and find a way to overcome this. If we can't beat the enemy through brute force, we can only outwit it. No matter what, we must have at least one person reach the 7th floor. Otherwise, we won't be able to take the test for the next 3 years. If this gets out, won't we Downstream mountain folks become a laughingstock? Chapter 2091. Unparalleled Elegance 5. This fireball must be destroyed to reach the 6th floor. What should we do? This fireball is extremely powerful. There's simply no one who can oppose it. At the same moment, Su Luo's fingertips moved slightly. There was still the last stage of soul healing that she must complete, but she was able to gain some consciousness. The words that everyone said with hoarse and exhausted bellosa? She could hear them clearly. Obviously, she also hadn't forgotten that they had previously wanted to throw her and Big Sister Wei out. If you faced defeat on the 5th floor, then you couldn't redo the assessment within the next 3 years? This rule was absolutely ludicrous. If it were possible, Su Luo really wanted to make these people incapable of doing the assessment for the next 3 years. But it was not possible. Without passing the assessment, she wouldn't be able to get the communication amulet. Wouldn't that be a big loss for her? The fireball was very powerful, and Big Sister Wei could fight it. However, it was likely that neither side would win. Suddenly, Su Luo's eyes suddenly lit up. She remembered that when the fireball rolled, till it was 10 feet before her, it had suddenly stopped, then turned and ran away. Even if anyone else had seen this, they wouldn't understand what was going on. However, only Su Luo knew why, because she could hear the fallen Red Lotus mutter, "What is that? How dare you act tough in front of me? Sooner or later, I'm going to eat you up." These words, Su Luo remembered them very clearly. In other words, that huge fireball was afraid of the fallen Red Lotus. Its nemesis was the fallen Red Lotus. Su Luo asked the little brat in her heart, "Would it benefit you if you ate that fireball? It's a great tonic." Little Red Lotus drooled. "Can you defeat it? It's nothing, okay? After eating the fire crystal stone, this little grandpa has already transitioned from an infant to a toddler, okay?" Fallen Red Lotus raised one of his legs over the other, shaking it complacently. If anyone were to witness this scene of a little kid wearing a duda shaking his crossed legs, wouldn't they be shocked to death? Since Fallen Red Lotus was so confident, Su Luo immediately let it out. At this time, many people had begun to understand what was going on. It suddenly occurred to them that when the big fireball rolled in front of the 2 women in the corner, it suddenly reversed its direction. It was very likely that area had something problematic for the big fireball. In order to save their own lives, they completely forgot what they had said before, and one by one they desperately squeezed into the space behind Big Sister Wei. Big Sister Wei frowned and stared at them unhappily. At this time, the big fireball had already turned around, moving rapidly toward where Big Sister Wei and the others were. The big fireball wanted to win. Therefore, although it was naturally afraid of the super-powerful fire-type suppression force released by the fallen Red Lotus, it still returned. One had to know that within the flames, there were different ranks, and the fallen Red Lotus was the king of the flames. While everyone was pushing and shoving, Sister Wei had already tossed her drumstick and stood up at this time. It was because she knew that it was no longer possible to go on without fighting. The fallen Red Lotus turned into a meteor, and was quickly pulled into Big Sister Wei's big wooden club. "Where is the evildoer, and take a smash from my club?" Big Sister Wei held up her big wooden club, flew up and shot towards the big fireball. Just as Big Sister Wei's wooden club shot over explosively, the big fireball trembled incessantly all over, similar to sifting chaff. It seemed to be convulsing. Then it actually turned around and ran away. At this time, those people who had squeezed in behind Big Sister Wei collectively, all of them with no exceptions, were dumbfounded. What the hell was going on here? It was just one wooden club. Why would that huge fireball, with a killing intent so aggressive that it soared into the sky, run away like a child? While the people were in shock, Big Sister Wei was enveloped by a rainbow-like aura, appearing like an extremely powerful character who was above worldly considerations. Chapter 2092, Unparalleled Elegance 6, the huge fireball fled at lightning speed. However, Big Sister Wei held up her wooden club, and continued to chase vigorously. For a while, the empty fifth floor was monopolized by two shadows chasing each other. At this time, the surrounding silence was so eerie. What the hell is going on? Was the big fireball suddenly hit by an evil spirit? Or is Big Sister Wei wearing her underwear on the outside? That Big Sister Wei who was gnawing on a drumstick was actually hiding her strength? So before this, did she only care about gnawing on her drumstick because she disdained associating and fighting with small fries? But this girl, she definitely just ascended from Distal End Mountain. How can she be so powerful? Then could it be that the big fireball is actually not that terrifying? Or perhaps, it is now like an arrow at the end of its flight? For a while, everyone was having a heated discussion, and their hearts and minds were filled with all kinds of doubt and disbelief. At this moment, the big fireball suddenly exploded with a booming rumble. Its flames burned white, and many people shut their eyes subconsciously. My eyes. Everything in front of me has turned black. I'm going blind. Darn. This big fireball is truly powerful. Just one face-to-face encounter, and my eyes are almost useless now. Big Sister Wei's eyes were also burned. Then right at this exact moment, an orange-red flame suddenly burst into the sky. Swiftly as a rainbow appeared after a rain, it sped right into the middle of the big fireball. Outside the tower, countless people stared with their eyes wide open, watching this incredible scene in front of them. Perhaps a scene they would never see again in their lifetime. They just saw a tiny weak orange flame shoot into the huge fireball. Then, the huge fireball became completely unable to move, like someone was ruthlessly clutching its neck. The huge fireball seemed to be twitching its limbs, rolling around as if it was wailing in pain and howling mournfully. The scene seemed to be forever frozen in place. It seems like it has been a long time, but it also seems like only 1 second has passed. Only a violent rumble was heard. Boma? Brum. The fireball that was as tall as a 3-story building collapsed to the ground in an instant, causing countless ghost flames to rush out. However, before they flew any further, these ghost flames fell to the ground one by one like fireflies that had lost their wings. Unexpectedly. It's unexpectedly. Lung Zhao's eyes stared fixedly at the big fireball, his eyes full of disbelief, and then flashed with a sinister light. Although he didn't completely understand Big Sister Wei's strength, he had roughly figured it out. He knew that with her strength, it was completely impossible for her to defeat the huge fireball effortlessly. He had seen it very clearly just now and understood that it was clearly that big wooden club. A strange orange-red flame had flown out from it. This big wooden club sure seemed like a good thing. Lung Zhao looked greedily at the big wooden club in the hands of Big Sister Wei. His eyes lit up with an expression that showed his desire to obtain it. At the same time, The guardian stared at Big Sister Wei's wooden club. He had the same shine and chill in his eyes as Lung Xiao. In the tower, Big Sister Wei looked at the gigantic monster that loudly crashed onto the ground, and then at the tiny flame occupying her wooden club. The corners of her mouth suddenly spread into an exceptionally brilliant smile. She was indeed old friends with Fallen Red Lotus, although she too had been bullied very cruelly by him at the start. Sister Wei carried the big wooden club and strode back to her original spot. At this moment, the remaining 10 people looked at Sister Wei with gazes of reverence and worship. They were almost about to scream, "Long live your majesty," 3 times. Chapter 2093, Unparalleled Elegance 7. For a moment, Big Sister Wei's domineering aura leaked out, shocking people with the ferocity of a tiger. However, these people were still flattering her under the pressure. "BBB Big Sister Wei, you are so amazing." "That's right Big Sister Wei, you are super amazing. Just with a strike from your club, the big fireball falls apart. Big Sister Wei, with you we will definitely be able to reach the 7th floor this time. You're totally this." This person gave 2 thumbs up, and then bumped his hands together at his chest. Big Sister Wei glanced at them scornfully, turned around and piggybacked Su Luo on her back, walked towards the 6th floor with large strides. While walking, she still complained to Su Luo. "Do they think I am stupid?" After the Fallen Red Lotus swallowed the crystal core of the big fireball, he was now already retracting into Su Luo's space to go to sleep. Su Luo also closed her eyes, preparing for the final restoration of her soul. The pitiful thing was that Su Luo is still in last place while Big Sister Wei had already risen to 203rd place. Big Sister Wei, go slowly. Big Sister Wei, wait for us. Big Sister Wei, we are your little followers." For a moment, it really could be said that it was a truly impressive scene where Big Sister Wei appeared rather majestic with a group of subordinates at her heels, calling out for her. She seemed no different from a queen. The 6th floor. It was quiet, extremely quiet. Unexpectedly, the troop of more than a dozen people made no sound whatsoever when their feet stepped on the ground. What was going on here? This time the Guardian starts the assessment in hell mode. "Be careful, everyone, the 5th floor is already so hard. The 6th floor is definitely more terrifying." He was originally ranked 201st, and he was still currently ranked 201st. However, regardless of his prestige and strength, he also stayed behind Big Sister Wei. This was a burly and sturdy young man, with 3 or 4 little buddies behind him who made up his team. He also knew that Big Sister Wei was more or less treated as the leader here. However, he did not argue against this because a fool did not pose a big threat to him. Anyway, everyone just used Big Sister Wei as a shield. At this moment, he pretended to fall behind, then whispered to his team, "Try to find a way to kill that little girl, or get her outside the tower. Otherwise, Big Sister Wei will not be able to exert any great efforts. She will spend all of her time protecting that useless girl." "Yes, understood." In the silent space, the melodious notes of a flute suddenly rang out. Underneath their feet, the mountain shook suddenly. Afterward, everyone could only see the stars shifting around. When they opened their eyes again, everyone was dumbfounded. "Where is this place? Is this place the 6th floor? There's a swamp ahead, what happened? How can we go through that?" Seeing the endless swamp ahead, everyone was dumbfounded. At this moment, they were just standing on a thin lotus leaf, and they would fall off with a slight movement. Suddenly, a scream sounded. Everyone immediately looked in the direction where the scream came from. It was Su Luo's team, and the examinee's foot was being grabbed by a sharp bony claw. They only saw the claw use all of its power and pulled down hard. No one thought that the claw was that powerful, and even so fast too. The examinee was unexpectedly pulled into a stagger, and then fell into the swamp uncontrollably. After falling in, he sank down rapidly. This was because his foot was in the grip of a magical beast at the moment, and the beast is in the swamp. Chapter 2094, Unparalleled Elegance 8. The swamp quickly became calm again as if nothing had happened. There was a moment of silence, and then their backs stiffened as a chill swiftly crept from their feet up into their chests. That was just too terrifying. That beast moved terrifyingly quickly. They were completely powerless to defend themselves against it. At that moment, everyone felt unsafe and scared, fear showing on their faces. Subconsciously, everyone looked back at Big Sister Wei's direction. Wouldn't it be great if, right now, it were them on silly Big Sister Wei's back? Would she charge ahead like a general, leading his soldiers into war and protecting them? Many people observed Su Luo with their eyes becoming very unfriendly. At this time, Big Sister Wei carried Su Luo on her back, eyes slightly squinting. That scene just now she had seen it. In front of the eyes, though a field of mud, but there miraculously appears a few corners of lotus flowers. There being lotus flowers, she could leverage strength to fly over. Big Sister Wei made up her mind, she must bring Su Luo outside. But at that moment, an invisible blade quickly pierced towards Su Luo, roping her body. Because Big Sister Wei focused her energy to the front, she didn't notice getting tied to Su Luo in one spot, silently separating them from others. Quickly, only 3 loops left. 2 loops. 1 last rope loop. Many people were wide-eyed. Finally, the last rope loop was cut away. It started to fall, quickly fell down. Many people looked forward to this scene. Su Luo only needed to fall down into the dark swamp. She would surely be engulfed by the darkness instantly, not able to move her arms and legs. But who would have known of such a coincidence? Right at this moment, a sudden paw grabbed for Su Luo's heel. Big Sister Wei felt the danger, and immediately moved Su Luo in front of her. Oh, a rope? Big Sister Wei looked at Su Luo, then at her empty back. Whose rope was this? The rope obviously fell into the swamp, turning into a pile of powder. Behind Big Sister Wei were many tense faces. Luckily, Big Sister Wei was thick-skinned, quick-thinking, and not deterred. With no rope, Big Sister Wei held on to Su Luo protectively. The eyes of people behind Big Sister Wei widened. Being guarded in her arms, how would they go about this? She couldn't be easily defeated, could she? Seeing Big Sister Wei holding on to Su Luo and wanting to secede, everyone became agitated. Without Big Sister Wei, what will they do now? Because of that, the whole group struggled to persuade Big Sister Wei. Big Sister, how are you so good in character? Aren't you too honest? You are clearly strong. Why carry along such a burden? Yes, without carrying such waste, you would have sooner led us to the 7th floor, be the best of the downstream mountains, and finish the assessment of the midstream mountain already. Big Sister Wei's face gradually calmed down. Seeing this, everyone quickly responded. Big Sister, don't blame us for being wordy. We truly can't stand to see you carrying the burden like this anymore. We do not mean to disturb you, we just truly feel uneasy inside. It is true. Look at the girl in your arms. She in fact is not unconscious but is just pretending to be comatose. Following with experience, pretending with such ambition, you have been deceived. Chapter 2095. Unparalleled Elegance, 9. The more the group of people tried to persuade her, the more passionately they spoke. They talked so much that their lips were about to crack. But at this moment, Big Sister Wei looked at them with eyes that were slowly turning scarlet, igniting into 2 crimson flames. She raised her wooden club, pointed into the crowd, swung it around, and said word by word. All of you, no one can badmouth little Luo Luo. If you do, go die. Su Luo slowly opened her eyes and got down from Big Sister Wei's shoulder. Her eyes calmly scanned around, coldly looked at everyone, and the corner of her mouth slowly raised into a cold smirk. Little Luo Luo, you're awake? Big Sister Wei became so happy. My legs are still a little weak, I need a while to recover. Su Luo slightly nodded her head. That's good. It's all good as long as you are awake. You don't even know how scared I was when you were unconscious. Big Sister Wei was always straightforward. She didn't have any semblance of a poker face, so all of her emotions were plain to see. Scared. Such a powerful silly Big Sister Wei would be scared? What kind of joke was this? Everyone shook their head in succession in disbelief. Su Luo smiled, looked at Big Sister Wei, patted her broad shoulders and comforted her. Everything is going to be fine. I am awake now. Don't be scared. Yes. Silly Big Sister Wei smiled sweetly. Everyone was so stunned that they were about to faint. It seemed that this girl truly thought of herself as some big shot, actually speaking to Big Sister Wei like she was her superior. Big Sister Wei was so silly. Clearly, she got treated so badly but still considered the other person to be her pillar. Right now, everyone was extremely envious, so much they were going crazy. Because having a super obedient and powerful subordinate like Big Sister Wei was such a blessing. Suddenly, there was a sharp noise. A sharp claw extended out yet again. It was only by working together that everyone managed to force that sharp claw to withdraw and release its pitiful victim. Suddenly, the man who ranked 201 maliciously looked at Su Luo, coldly smirked. "Miss, you were unconscious during this entire journey. You didn't put in any effort at all. Don't you feel bad?" After the words were spoken, immediately there was silence everywhere. Then everyone burst into discussion right after. Exactly, you didn't put in any effort at all. You were unconscious before, but now that you woke up, don't you think you should be putting in some effort for the team? Miss, as humans, we must talk about morality. Are you just going to reap the fruits of our effort like that so calmly? Don't you feel bad at all? Even though you have thick skin, this is not the way things work. You have held Big Sister Wei back for so long. Big Sister Wei probably wouldn't care because she is a nice person, but you should know how much she has done for you. Each critic treated Su Luo as if she was the worst person alive. Su Luo half closed her eyes and slowly scanned the surroundings. These people's glances were filled with ridiculing, taunting, and jealous expressions. How interesting. But they were correct about something. This was already the 6th level. She did, in fact, get all the way up here while being unconscious. Without having moved her hands even once, her limbs were feeling a little strange. Therefore, she should work out a little bit. If so, shouldn't you tell me what I should do? Su Luo's eyes were smiling, sparkling and deep as a beautiful river. Her hands were clasped behind her back, looking up into the sky, as if she was trying to explore its endless mysteries. Chapter 2096. Unparalleled Elegance 10. With such a presence, appearance and quick-wittedness, she was shockingly beautiful. At this moment, every one of those who originally criticized her went silent. It seemed that even one more sentence was blasphemy against her. Su Luo pulled away from the sky and glanced at them, raised an eyebrow and smiled. "Speak up. What do you want?" During this whole journey, it was Big Sister Wei who carried her up. Even if she had to pay back this favor, it would be to Big Sister Wei. It had nothing to do with these idiots. Furthermore, just based on the 5th floor's trial, she had taken out the fallen Red Lotus and saved everyone from disaster. Just for this favor, they should at least kneel 3 times and bow down 9 times to thank her. Yet they still wanted her to return them a favor. This was truly the biggest joke. Su Luo could not be bothered saying all these things to those people. The other party was silent for a long time. They drew close to each other and talked quietly amongst themselves. After a long discussion, the 201st examinee finally said the result. "Since you think that you're so great, this trial will be for you to take care of. What do you think?" Su Luo's gaze swept across everyone's faces one by one, until they all lowered their heads and dared not to look at her face to face. Then she lightly threw out a sentence. "This is the result of your discussion?" "Yes." The 201st examinee especially shouted especially loudly and clearly. "Great, as you wish." Su Luo bursted laughing and clapped away the originally non-existent dust from her hands. Suddenly, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. A melodious voice sounded. The voice was getting more and more resonant. Towards the end, it was practically piercing the eardrum. "My head hurts. My soul's about to leave. Oh my God. I can't control myself anymore. I seem to really want to step into this swamp." The man's voice was half sobbing, and he slashed his legs with a dagger, stroke after stroke. Blood would flow out with each cut. It was only by doing so that his mind could be clear for the tiniest second. A slight sneer slid across Su Luo's eyes. After such a long period of soul repair, her previous internal wounds were not completely recovered. However, some good comes out of a setback. The soul essence that she absorbed allowed for her soul to make remarkable leaps in progress. Su Luo's eyes closed slightly. From space, her fair fingers, that were youthful and jade-like, pulled out a white jade whistle. The sky-piercing whistle. She had obtained it from the secret dragon territory. From the time when Ziyin and Beichening were about to jump off the magma cliff under the control of the magic sound, Su Luo awakened them with the sky-piercing whistle. At that time, Su Luo's soul was still very weak. Therefore, she almost succumbed to the whistle's melody. Nevertheless, it was different now. Su Luo put the sky-piercing whistle in her mouth and consolidated the power of her soul. Then a sharp sound broke through the sky. In an instant, heaven and earth changed. The sharp whistle sound destroyed the melodious musical performance of the Guqin and Xiao until there was practically nothing left. The thick fog that was gradually advancing also started thinning and seemed to disperse. At this moment, a fierce magical beast, carrying 300,000 caddies of lightning power, suddenly pounced wildly towards Su Luo. Seeing this, Big Sister Wei, who stood beside Su Luo, used her big wooden club to smash the magical beast's forehead without hesitation. A banging sound echoed. The magical beast's mouth was ruthlessly smashed into a big drooping lump, and then the magical beast viciously spat out a mixture of blood and teeth. Su Luo gave a thumbs up to Big Sister Wei. This one hit of the wooden club was so formidably powerful that it shocked others. It was not only Su Luo and the examinees that were present. A bunch of people outside the tower were also shocked. Chapter 2097. Revered by thousands. 1. They haven't passed the 6th floor. The outcome is still unknown. The Guardian's face stiffened. Oh, you won't admit defeat? This 6th level tests the power of the soul. I can see that the girl's soul power is extremely formidable. The 6th tone demon won't be able to do anything about her. No, it's that girl who can't do anything about the 6th tone demon. Leng Zhao's ice-cold and mocking voice sounded. The only condition for passing the level is to kill the 6th tone demon. However, as long as it escapes, this group of people has no choice but to stop at the 6th floor. Could the 6th tone demon escape? At this time, countless people held such a question in their hearts. Some people hoped that the 6th tone demon would escape, but most people hoped for the opposite. That's because if this team really stopped at the 6th floor and no one completed the task, then for the next 6 months, there was no way for anyone to participate in the examination, because the Tower of Trials would automatically be closed for 6 months. The look of the Guardian right now was profoundly mysterious and indescribably complicated. If the Tower of Trials ended up closing for 6 months because of the hell mode that he chose, his reputation would be tremendously damaged. However, if Su Luo passed the 6th floor, he would lose the bet he made with Old Ning earlier. So, as for how tormented he felt currently, only he himself knew. The ranking outside the tower had basically stabilized. Su Luo, however, was still last place. Inside the tower, Big Sister Wei used her wooden club to violently beat the 6th tone demon bloody. Originally, nobody could compete with the 6th tone demon when it came to manipulating the tunes. Now, its tune had been disrupted by Su Luo, after which its attack power was practically negligible. Consequently, it turned around and tried to escape without a trace. Quick look, it ran away. Go after it. Can't let it run away. Underneath this is the damn swamp. There is no solid footing anywhere. Who dares to go down? The group was discussing spiritedly among themselves, with the 201st ranked person, even more exaggeratedly kicking up a racket. Big Sister Wei brandished her big wooden club. She looked hatefully at the 6th tone demon, who was running in midair and turning its head back just to ridicule everyone. There was a time limit for the examination. Now that most of the time had passed, it was not a wise choice to continue dragging it out with the 6th tone demon. Nonetheless, no one could do anything to the 6th tone demon. At this instant, without anyone paying any attention, appearing slowly on Su Luo's soft red lips was a cold sneer. She waved her hand and 2 wheels appeared in her hand. One was a fiery red. The other was a light blue. At this moment, Su Luo was calmly tying the 2 wheels to her legs. Oh, what is this? Big Sister Wei poked the wheels with her hand. Wind and fire wheels. Su Luo grinned. At this moment, outside of the tower, the corner of old Ning's mouth twitched slightly. The guardian glanced at the old Ning with a sneer. Wind and fire wheels? Haha, when did old Ning give it to that girl? Old Ning glared at him unhappily. Who doesn't know that this old man put this pair of wind and fire wheels in the Genius Training Camp assessment test? This girl really doesn't do things fruitlessly. She even took this treasure along just for an exam. Although old Ning complained at this moment, not only was there no displeasure on his face, there was also a touch of unspeakable interest in his eyes. Wind and fire wheels, very good. The entire area was just a swamp, but what did they matter when she had the wind and fire wheels? Chapter 2098. Revered by thousands, too. All of them had experienced the assessment of the Genius Training Camp back then. So, they had naturally all seen the Iron Tower-like puppets with powerful attacking power. These wind and fire wheels are. Number 201 ranked examinee's voice was trembling. I picked them up when I entered the exam. Why, don't you guys have them? Su Luo raised her eyebrows and said unconcernedly. That item was from the puppet from last assessment. How could you take its possession? Number 201 examinee yelled loudly in disbelief. Su Luo spreaded out her hands. She said with an innocent and confused expression. No one said I couldn't, and no one retrieved it when I left. Obviously, no one retrieved it. This was because the 3 elders were reprimanded by the first elder, and the others would not say much. The group of people that were around were all at a loss. Was it possible to take the test items? While everyone was at a loss, Su Luo had already put on the wind and fire wheels. The wind wheel could hold people up, and the fire wheel could launch a fierce attack. They complemented each other, and were indispensable. With these 2 wheels, Su Luo was practically a tiger that had grown wings. Su Luo's figure had already turned into a white light, and quickly burst into the distance, leaving behind only the sound of a whistle. At this time, the 6th-toned demon, who was immensely pleased with itself, only just discovered Su Luo's existence. Aside from being able to attack souls with its demonic tunes, the 6th-toned demon's other attributes were that it had very brittle skin, very low defense, and attack power that wasn't particularly strong. Its only strong attribute was its speed. Su Luo opened her palms, and the Chungying sword quietly appeared. Have a taste of my sword. Su Luo held the Chungying sword and chased it menacingly. The 6th-toned demon looked back. Seeing Su Luo's fierce appearance, it was deathly frightened, and instinctively dove into the swamp. That was its world. As long as it got in, the other party will never find it. However, how could Su Luo allow it to do what it wanted? A sword's edge swept across from under it, and the poor 6th-toned demon could only swim upward desperately. If it delayed another moment, its body would be split in half. Roar! 6th-toned demon turned its head, gave Su Luo a ferocious look, and then continued to flee. You still dare to run? Let's see where you can run to. Su Luo held the Chungying sword and chased it all over the field. For a while, the demon kept running and she kept chasing after it. The scene was abnormally lively. Su Luo's eyes gradually narrowed. Chasing it down like this was not a good solution. There still was the 7th floor above. She needed to conserve enough time and energy to deal with the dangers of that floor. Su Luo's eyes turned slightly to see the direction the 6th-toned demon was moving toward, and quickly made calculations in her head. Soon a light flashed in her eyes. Move! Su Luo shouted in a cold voice, then her figure quickly disappeared. Oh, where is she? She couldn't have fallen into the swamp, right? Impossible. She obviously disappeared in mid-air. How could she have fallen into the swamp? At this time, many people outside the tower actually knew what was going on. Teleportation. To think that this girl actually has the long-lost teleportation skill. Old Ning was slightly startled. He had treated this girl differently, but he didn't expect this girl to surprise him even more. Teleportation. She must be a space element. Additionally, it is very likely that she also knows gravity techniques. There was an indescribable sinister chill in Leng Zhao's low voice. At this point, Leng Zhao's eyes gradually narrowed. Originally, he held her in contempt, but he now began to attach a sense of importance to her. If she knew the teleportation skill, then she might be a space mage, and she might know gravity techniques. In that case, could it be that his junior brother might really have died in the hands of this girl? Chapter 2099. Revered by Thousands 3. Inside the tower. When Su Luo's silhouette reappeared, she was firmly standing 100 meters in front of the sixth-tone demon. By the time the sixth-tone demon saw Su Luo, they were only 10 meters apart. Turning its flexible body around quickly, it tried to run away from Su Luo. Running away? Not that easy. Su Luo coldly hummed, "Nothingness of space." Nothingness of space was invisible, but it consistently surrounded the sixth-tone demon and slowed it down by not only a little. At the same time, Su Luo already rushed into the nothingness of space and raised the Chungying sword into the air. Roar! The sixth-tone demon's eyes were bleeding, and felt a wave of fear creeping inside like it had never experienced before. Looking in Su Luo's eyes, it saw the silhouette of death. Knowing it was going to die soon, it released its most mighty and powerful roar. Therefore, right before they let out a sound, click, the sixth-tone demon was already completely smashed by the Chungying sword. Its round head was rolling down onto the ground, pounding against the floor. In just a moment, the surroundings went quiet. Everyone looked at Su Luo as in complete reverence. Such a speed, such strength, such a simple and decisive swing. Was this the same Su Luo that they were bad-mouthing? The one that came all the way because she was unconscious and someone else brought her here? Even more horrifying was that they were looking down at Su Luo and silly Big Sister Wei. They were also telling silly Big Sister Wei to leave her, and loudly telling the girls that without them, the girls were missing out by a lot. As soon as Su Luo made a move, it was as if big loud slaps on the face, bang bang bang, slapping these people till their heads were spinning. This slap was too clear that all of their faces were burning hot. Each time, they thought about what they did and said to Su Luo and Big Sister Wei. They all wanted to suffocate themselves. At the same time, it also caused a big sensation outside of the tower. Gravity technique, it really is the space gravity technique. Lung Xiao formed a fist in his sleeves, and his crescent moon-shaped nails stabbed into his palms. That little girl was unexpectedly hiding her talents. He really looked down on her before. At that moment, there was a scream among the crowd. Quick! Look at Su Luo's name. What? Her ranking went from the bottom to 230th just in a moment. This little girl was really hiding her skills. In the past 5 levels, her ranking didn't go up at all, and she climbed above 70 people just now. Witnessing Su Luo's ranking's meteoric rise, everyone was so surprised and couldn't believe in what they just witnessed. But that was the reality, nobody could change it. It was even harder to believe such events hadn't happened yet. In the uneasy gazes of everyone inside the tower, Su Luo was like an angel coming from the 9th heaven. When she landed on the ground, the environment changed. When they opened their eyes again, they were already on the 7th level. The 201st ranked examinee wanted to go on the front line, but Su Luo smiled faintly. She didn't care about him. The 201st ranked examinee felt his back getting cold and his body stiffening. He turned around and looked at Su Luo. The danger on 7th level, are you sure you can get everyone out of it? Su Luo slowly asked. The 201st ranked examinee felt his mouth drying up. He couldn't be sure of this. But I can. Su Luo slowly said. My only condition is you give up your position as team leader. Chapter 2100. Revered by Thousands 4. Therefore, in this assessment, he still thought that he was the best person that would lead everyone to the top. Unexpectedly, who knew this time would be hell mode? Consequently, he struggled. At this moment, everyone stared at the 201st ranked examinee, all thinking the same thing. After going through the 5th and 6th level with Big Sister Wei and Su Luo, they trusted the two of them more than the 201st ranked examinee. The 201st ranked examinee knew that too, but he could only stare at Su Luo. Forming a grudge in his heart, he promised himself that if he found a chance, He would make Su Luo feel his pain. Eventually he backed off, stood behind Su Luo, and gestured his leader position to her. Su Luo naturally accepted the leader position, leading the other examinees to the 7th level. Suddenly, she stopped walking, turned her head and asked the other examinees, "Oh right, what type of beast are we encountering on the 7th level?" These words immediately made everyone stagger, almost losing strength in their legs. Among them was someone with quick reflexes, and he jumped to tell Su Luo, "If there aren't any surprises, it will be the 9-eyed demonic spiders, Saint rank 5 stars 9-eyed demonic spiders." Another one added, "But this time it's hell mode, so the 9-eyed demonic spiders will be much more powerful." About how strong the spiders were, they couldn't imagine. However, judging from the 5th or 6th level, everyone else would die. "What are your names?" Su Luo slowly asked. "My name is Rongjun, a warrior." "I'm Yenmo, an ice mage." Su Luo nodded her head as if she understood. At this point, the 201st ranked examinee looked at Su Luo, waved his hand. "If it is already the 7th level, then we will try our best. Even if we lose, we could try again next month." Indeed, now that they reached the 7th floor, they couldn't be barred from entering the Tower of Trials as a punishment. Su Luo looked at him, then glanced at everyone's faces and smirked coldly. "If anyone wants to lose, now is the time to back off. If you don't try to win when we get to the crucial moments, I will deal with you when we get out of the tower." Since she had her own plan, if these people messed up her plan, everything would be for naught. The 201st ranked examinee slightly looked at by Su Luo. His heart was cold, and he clenched his fist even tighter. He closed his eyes to hide his malicious intentions. A 9-eyed demonic spider cave appeared in front of them. However, this 9-eyed demonic spider cave was 2 stories tall. Everyone went dizzy at the sheer size. Su Luo didn't hesitate and let everyone inside. In the team, Su Luo and Big Sister Wei went all the way to the front, and the rest were just following them. Su Luo looked down onto her jade amulet. 270th. This wasn't acceptable. If she wanted to finish this assessment and go to Midstream Mountain, she had to be in the top 3. Judging by her rank right now, it was too far away. The crucial point was before the 5th level, and she didn't put in any effort at all. That's why her ranking was so low. Su Luo was determined. During the 7th level, she had to get to a higher rank. Naturally, this also meant that she was going to work very hard. Perhaps, this 7th level would be her own solo performance. Right at this moment, Su Luo's body suddenly stiffened. Because not too far away from them, she saw a group of fiery red 9-eyed demonic spiders, crowded together producing green poisonous webs. Chapter 2101. Revered by Thousands 5. One person taking on 9 9-eyed demonic spiders by themselves? It was an extremely difficult feat, even he couldn't do such a thing. Yenmo's tense expression revealed a hint of distress as he shook his head alongside Rongjun. The 201st ranked examinee sneered. "Isn't the captain very powerful? Since she can apparently kill the 6th-tone demon with a single sword, I imagine that if she goes against the 9-eyed demonic spider." Before he could even finish his provocation, he saw Su Luo quickly walk forward with the Chunging sword in hand. Because of that, the 201st ranked examinee's words came to a stop midway. Seeing Su Luo walk forward, Rongjun's and Yenmo's faces changed slightly, and they hurriedly called out, "Everyone attack together. We must strive to resolve this in the shortest time possible, otherwise more 9-eyed demonic spiders will appear." But before he could even move, Big Sister Wei's giant club swung forward, blocking the pathway. "What are you doing?" Rongjun stared at Big Sister Wei in confusion. Was Big Sister Wei's moron disease happening again? Why was she stopping them when they were going to help? Sister Wei stared at them in silence and shook her head. "The boss can't do it alone. Get out of the way. Are you even her friend?" Rongjun was anxious. If something happened to the boss, they could just forget about passing this trial. But at this time, the rest of the group suddenly let out a uniform exclamation of surprise. Shocked by the sound, Rongjun turned toward Su Luo. With a glance, he froze like a statue. Su Luo quickly dashed over, The Chungying sword in her hand swung across in a circle, drawing out a sword shadow, hitting 3 nine-eyed demonic spiders that fell to the ground dead. Su Luo was then surrounded by the rest of the nine-eyed demonic spiders. People saw her leap upwards before falling headfirst. At the same time, she swung the Chungying sword in a circle again. Rat-tat-tat. Another 3 nine-eyed demonic spiders fell dead. Upon landing, Su Luo slid back against the ground, avoiding the strongest attacks of the nine-eyed demonic spiders. Then she leaped up again, stabbing the Chungying sword forward. Crack! Another nine-eyed demonic spider died. Seeing the remaining 2 nine-eyed demonic spiders unite to attack her, Su Luo's mouth curled up in a smirk and flashed behind the nine-eyed demon spider on the left. With the Chungying sword, she stabbed it in its back. Crack! The Chungying sword passed through the nine-eyed demonic spider, instantly penetrating the body of the spider in front, stringing them together. Although it seemed to have taken a long time, in fact, all of this happened at lightning speed, not even in a blink of an eye elapsed. Su Luo slowly withdrew the Chungying sword, and upon turning back to her audience, she smiled. Her smile was like that of a bright and sunny day. Yet this smile drove the feelings of her small group of companions into a frenzied chaos, like they had cramps. Was this woman still human? She was way too fast. It wasn't enough that she had single-handedly taken out 9 nine-eyed demonic spiders, she also made it seem so easy. Truly, was this really a person who was only at the 7-star commander rank? Could she actually be a 7-star saint rank instead? Being so stunned by Su Luo's performance, everyone's heads were spinning in confusion. Only the 201st ranked examinee clenched his hand into a fist, the blue veins on the back pulsing and pumping furiously. Did he really want to make such a person his enemy? Did he really have the confidence to defeat such strength? For a moment, the 201st ranked examinee fell into a deep thought. Faced with everyone's confusion, Su Luo only smirked and said, "Let's go." Chapter 2102. Revered by Thousands 6. Bah! Su Luo's ranking has moved. From 230 to 225. What in the world is going on? Wasn't there more than a dozen people there? Why is her ranking the only one that moved? Are all the others dead? I don't know, damn it. Look, Su Luo's name has moved again. It's 222 this time. No one else's rankings have changed. Is there something wrong with the system? Damn. What the hell is going on? Su Luo's ranking has advanced again, and again at 219. Bah. What are the rest of the people doing standing there? Watching the show? Are they an audience now? They are here for the assessment, not to watch a damn show. The people outside the tower were swearing and cursing, but all their words could be summed up into one sentence. They were shocked by Su Luo. They were all stuck in Downstream Mountain for so long, and had to painstakingly climb up from the bottom point by point. But this girl, Su Luo, you wouldn't know if she was a damned demon child in her previous life. The sheer speed of her rank climbing, TSK. In the beginning, she had been asleep all the way up and everyone was looking down on her. But who would expect that this girl would be so shocking and perform such a jaw-dropping comeback? This face slap was too cool. Outside the tower, everyone craned their necks, held their breath, and stared at the clear figure on the screen with ever-increasing excitement. They felt that her every move and smile were full of incredible beauty. Inside the tower, except for Su Luo, the rest of the companions were sore on their feet, but they could only be spectators. It was because their leader was too strong and loved individual performances too much. "Boss, are you tired? Do you want to rest a bit?" Rongjun asked with a laugh. Watching the boss cut down these nine-eyed demonic spiders like paper, his hands were itching for some action. Su Luo was surrounded by 10 nine-eyed demonic spiders, but she faced no trouble, and even took the time to talk to Rongjun. "I slept for too long before, now my muscles and bones need warming up. How else can I get tired?" Su Luo's answer immediately made these people laugh. Usually they struggled to fight against the nine-eyed demonic spiders one-on-one. The boss dealt with 10 nine-eyed demonic spiders alone, and even said that she was just warming up. Wasn't the skill gap a bit far? At this moment, Su Luo's eyes suddenly wrinkled. Have you all rested up? Su Luo glanced at them. Yeah. We're bored to death over here. They all said. That's good, the little lord of the nine-eyed demonic spiders just came out. Help me take it down. When Su Luo said this, the little lord of the nine-eyed demonic spiders hadn't come out yet, so everyone was at a loss, but they quickly got back to their senses when a sharp cry almost pierced their eardrums. It's a nine-venom spider. Rongjun looked at the thick green mist in the distance, face pale. This is already the ultimate boss in hell mode. I didn't expect it to be just the little lord here. Yen Mo's eyes flashed solemnly. Hurry and take these pills. The 201st ranked examinee exclaimed, at the same time taking out a medicine bottle. This was his way of buying people's hearts. Elite detoxifying pills. Su Luo sneered at the 201st ranked examinee, then threw a medicine bottle at Rongjun. Master detoxification pills, 1 per person quickly. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.